that we do have. There is no ladies' Bible study tomorrow night. My wife wanted me to make sure that you ladies knew that. No ladies' Bible study, and that was my fault for not mentioning it this morning. She'll be picking up on that hopefully within the next week or so, but no Bible study tomorrow evening. Please remember, Daylight Savings Time, March the 10th. I tell you, it's weird to think February is over with on Thursday. We're already coming to March, but Daylight Savings Time, Sunday, March the 10th. We have our 52nd annual missions conference coming up. Looking forward to that from March the 20th through the 24th. What a blessing it is to see all that God has done. We're going to have Brother Glenn Browder. And Brother Glenn Browder was here for the first missions conference 52 years ago. And he is still going out, still doing for the Lord. And what a blessing it is that he's going to be here. And on that Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday night, we'll have at 7 o'clock. Each night, and it'll go from 7 to around 8 o'clock each evening. And then there's no service on Saturday night. Instead, we're going to do our missionary prayer breakfast that morning, and we're asking the men of the church, come out. You may say, I don't know how to cook. That's okay. We can make coffee. You can set the table. You can do all different kind of fun things. But either way, it's just to help. We want to get together, for us men to get together and be able to cook, because we know most of the ladies will be cooking for the international meal. So men, we're going to cook for breakfast. And then everybody can come out for the meal. Okay, this is not just for the men. All right, the men are cooking, but everybody can come out for it. And we'll have a sign-up sheet next Sunday to see how many we're going to have come. And it's free. All you got to do, again, is just show up for it. And then as soon as we're through eating at 9 o'clock, we're going to come in here, gather around the altar. We're going to spend some time in prayer, praying for our Faith Promise Missions pledge and giving for the upcoming year, that God would just see an increase and that we would see an increase in being able to give. Because on the 24th, right after the morning service, we have an international meal with our missionaries. So you bring out, always say this, bring out enough for your entire family to eat and one more person, and we've got more than enough food, okay? Honestly, I've yet to be here at the church where we haven't had enough food. Normally, we're sending food home with people. Please take this. There's too much, okay? And so we're going to enjoy that time together. And then March 28th through the 30th, our men and boys camping trip. If you can go, we love to have you. We can only hold 25. And right now, I think we have 17. So I've got about 9 places available. So if you still like to go, all you got to do is put the money in the plate. Make sure you write on it who it is that's going. If you put, $20 in the plate for you to go and you don't put it down, thank you very much. It'll go into the general fund, but we'd rather it go towards you being able to go on that trip. So make sure that you sign up for that. And I know that we had talked earlier about 2 people needing help to go to summer camp, okay? We also need help for 2 more. If you can help us in that way, just put it in the plate. It's $95 for the entire week for them to go. That's really cheap. So if you would like to help out for one of these young people to go to camp, and there's 2. So if you'd like to do that, just write on their summer camp, put it in the plate. And you may say, well, I can't give the whole amount. Whatever you can give would be a blessing, I promise you, so that they get to go to camp. Camps, if you still would like to go to camp, if you come to me tonight, this week has been crazy. I'll just be honest with you. We hadn't had a chance to get all that taken care of. So if you still want to go, I give it to you tonight, and then that's it. We've got to have it. All we need right now for you to be able to go is just the $10 registration and the registration form. That's all we need. But if you want to go, it is July 1st through the 5th, okay, of this year. That's for our teen camp, all right? July 1st through the 5th, and it's at Gospel Light Christian Camp in Hillsville, Virginia, right above. If you go to Winston-Salem on the map and you go right across the Virginia line, there's Hillsville, okay? And so if you'd like to go, come see me. But if you can help out with one of these young people, deeply, deeply appreciate it. And as soon as you can put that in the plate or get with me to say you're going to, that would be a big, big blessing. Psalms 37 is where we're at as we're going through the book of Psalms. And trust me, it'll take me a long time to get through the book of Psalms, I promise you. I think I've been on this for a year now, and we're just in Psalms 37, so it's going to take us a while. Tonight, we're just going to get through the first 11 verses. I've entitled the message tonight, Fret Not, okay? Psalms 37 is a psalm that David penned when he was of old age. He was much older when he penned this, and you may say, how do you know that? Look at verse 25. It says, I have been young and now am old. Okay, pretty simple, right? I mean, Doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure that one out when he says in the psalm, hey, I used to be young, now I'm old. So we see that he's speaking when he was older, and we're not even sure with this psalm, Psalms 37, whether it was a psalm that was to be sung or whether it was a psalm just to meditate upon. But either way, God gave it to David. God's put it in his word. He's done it for a reason, for us to be useful, for us to use, okay? So in the verse we're going to be looking at tonight, we see a phrase 3 times, and it's right at the beginning of the psalm. It says, fret not thyself. 3 times in these verses we're going to see where he says, fret not thyself. Look at verse 1. Fret not thyself because of evil doers. Look down, if you will, in verse 7. Rest in the Lord and wait patiently for him. Fret not thyself because of him who prospereth in his way. Then if you go down, I missed one. Verse 8, I'm sorry. Thank you, Miss Candy. Cease from anger and forsake wrath. Fret not thyself in any wise do evil. So we see this term, fret not thyself, these 3 times. And what he's doing is he's trying to tell believers that here, as they're seeing things unfold in their lives, to don't fret about it. When the enemy is attacking, don't fret about it. When the enemy seems to prosper, don't fret about it. When you're looking at your bank account and you're not seeing a whole lot of money, but you're seeing the wealthy out there, the ungodly that's getting wealthy, don't fret about it. Folks, our reward is not here upon the earth. Okay, we're not to lay up for ourselves treasures here upon the earth where moth and rust doth corrupt and where thieves break through and steal, but we're to lay up treasures in heaven where moth and rust doth not corrupt and the thieves do not break through and steal. For where your treasure is, what's the rest of that? There will your heart be also. And see, that's our problem. Even Christians have gotten to this materialistic attitude of, I've got to have money, and when we don't, we fret. We fret about things. And David here is saying, don't fret. As a matter of fact, the word fret, you know what it means? A lot of people think it means worry. And it does have a little bit of that idea, but the fret means this: to eat away, to wear away, to disturb. And here David's saying, hey, don't worry about these evildoers. Don't worry about the wicked. Don't let it eat away at you. Don't let it consume you. Don't let it disturb you to the point that you take your eyes off of Christ and place it upon whatever the problem that you're having or whatever you're seeing the wicked and evildoers do. He's warning us. And I hope tonight that we'll heed that warning to fret not. So let's read verses just 1 through 11. It's all we're going to cover tonight. That's all we can do. I thought about doing more, but I thought we might want to go home at 8 tonight instead of 9 or 10. So we're just going to go through verses 1 through 11. Let's read that together. It says, fret not thyself because of evildoers, neither be thou envious against the workers of iniquity. For they shall soon be cut down like the grass, and wither as the green herb. Trust in the Lord and do good, so shalt thou dwell in the land, and verily thou shalt be fed. Delight thyself also in the Lord, and he shall give thee desires of thine heart. Commit thy way unto the Lord. Trust also in him, and he shall bring it to pass. And he shall bring forth thy righteousness as the light, and thy judgment as the noonday. Rest in the Lord, and wait patiently for him. Fret not thyself because of him who prospereth in his way, because of the man who bringeth wicked devices to pass. Cease from anger and forsake wrath. Fret not thyself in any wise to do evil, for evildoers shall be cut off. But those that wait upon the Lord, they shall inherit the earth. For yet a little while, and the wicked shall not be. Yea, thou shalt diligently consider his place, and it shall not be. But the meek shall inherit the earth, and shall delight themselves in the abundance of peace. I'd like for us to look, if we can, just for a few minutes tonight, at fret not. Let's look, first of all, at verses 1 and 2, evildoers and workers of iniquity. So often we fret when we think of what man is going to do or what they are going to do to us. To fret is to worry, to fume, or to be vexed. We start thinking about what the world is doing and what these evildoers are doing. That's why it says, fret not thyself because of evildoers. Neither be thou envious against the workers of iniquity. He's saying, hey, don't fret about those things. Don't let it eat away at you. Don't be disturbed because of what the evildoers are doing. Folks, can I tell you something? There are so many things in this world that we hear about. that we have to, at times it pains our heart. We think of abortion, how that pains our heart. We think of murder, how it pains our heart. Addiction, how it pains our heart. How we see all these things happening in families and the children and so on and so forth, and it pains our heart to the point that, oh, Father, and you know what? We can let it fret us to the point that we take our eyes off of Christ and put it upon that certain thing that's fretting us, that's bothering us, that's hurting us. And you know what David's trying to tell us here? Quit minding other people's business and begin to concentrate on your own. Don't worry so much about what's going on in the evildoers. He's not saying the brethren. He's talking about the evildoers. Don't worry about them. Instead, take care of what God would have you to do. And so many times, I hate to say it, we want to be nosy. We want to stick our nose into things. We want to look into things, and we look at stuff, and we go, oh, no, look what I found. Look, let's try to do our best to mind what we need to be minding. Don't look at how well they're doing, but you know what instead we need to do? Look at how well God's been taking care of you. Let's put it this way, and we're going to look at this a little bit more. It seems like, and I've taught this in Sunday school, I've preached it before, but it seems like Christians aren't very content with what God has given them. Got quiet in here. How many of us have a home to live in? I'm going to ask you, how many of you ever complained about the home you live in? You know what? You got a home. I guarantee you some people that are living in cardboard boxes tonight, or maybe just on the side of the road or under a bridge or an overpass, would love to have your problem. I guarantee you they would. Okay, I know this is hurting your toes. You're getting your toes stepped on, because mine are too. How many of y'all had dinner already tonight? Anybody? I don't eat before I preach. Okay, I just don't. I've learned. I wonder how many of us complained because of what we had. I didn't want that. Folks, there's a lot of people in this country who would probably have loved to have what you had. I've learned, when we go on our men's camping trip, that I don't listen to any of the children. Just throwing that out there. You know why? This is what we're having for dinner. I don't want that. Suck on a rock. I don't care. You know what I've learned many years ago? You take a loaf of bread, you take a jar of peanut butter and a jar of jelly. If you don't like it, make it. I hope you eat a peanut butter sandwich so it sticks your tongue to the roof of your mouth so you can't talk anymore. But that's what you get. Well, I don't like peanut butter. Eat a pine cone. I don't care. This is what we're having. And I give you the menu ahead of time, folks. So when little Johnny walks up to me, just go talk to your daddy, because you're not my child. I don't care. You should be happy with what you got. We're going to have a fish fry, hopefully, Winston. People catching a fish. Have a fish fry. I don't like fish. It's peanut butter and jelly right there. I don't like peanut butter and jelly. I guess you can eat a bread sandwich. Yeah, I got some ketchup you can throw on it. Eat your ketchup sandwich. Folks, I'm not trying to be harsh when I say that, but we have come to our society, and we've come to so many people who are not content with what God has given them, and all they are just like the children of Israel when they were going into the wilderness. They murmured and they complained. And here David's saying, hey, don't fret because of evildoers. Quit complaining. Don't worry about them. Look what all he's given to you. Look what all he's done for you. But look what else says in that verse. And neither be thou envious against the workers of iniquity. Folks, you know how many times we can look at others and get envious of what they have? If you're on Facebook, everybody on Facebook must have the perfect life. It makes me nauseous. I think it's like a Martha Stewart cookbook or something. Everything Martha Stewart did was perfect, and it just made you want to throw up. You see these people who take these perfect vacations. They've got the perfect house. Oh, they've got the perfect little children. I've never seen any of those before. They're a rare breed, by the way, okay? They've got the perfect home life with the perfect home, and they paint this false picture that everything is perfect. And we look at those things. You know what happens to many people? That's what I want. I'm going to be envious of them because they took a trip to Hawaii and I want to go. They just got a new car and I'm still driving that 72 Pinto. I mean, come on. Why can't I have that? And we get envious. You know what he's saying here? Don't be envious against the workers of iniquity. You're looking at people over here that are workers of sin. They're the evildoers, and we're looking at them and go, I wish I could be like them. What? Some of you may not be old enough to remember when Michael Jordan played basketball. How many of y'all remember Michael Jordan? Big, huge thing that said, be like Mike. Wrong. I don't want to be like Mike. I don't want to be anything like Michael Jordan. I don't know him personally, but I want to be like him. We look at it in our society today, we're looking at people with wealth, fame, and power, and we're striving to emulate ourselves to be like them by wearing certain clothing. Man, I've got to wear Gucci. Folks, I don't even know how to spell Gucci, much less do I own any Gucci, and do I want any Gucci. Oh, I've got to have these certain type of shoes, and I've got to have this certain type of this, because if not, it doesn't show whether I'm cool and whether. And I'm thinking, wait a minute. Why are you trying to emulate the world? Why are you trying to look and envy the evildoers of our time? But don't you understand? Oh, I understand completely. Problem is, we've got our priorities wrong. And that's what David's here saying. Hey, why are you worried about that? Why are you being disturbed by that? Why are you being eaten away by that? That's so silly. How about we instead focus in on Christ and what He wants? That's the main thing. Instead of trying to lay up treasures for ourselves, how about we try to lay up treasures in heaven? Because here's the thing. If you read on down in these verses we're going to look at, there's going to be a day when these evildoers aren't going to be here any longer. And they're going to get their reward. But there's going to be a day that you and I won't be here any longer. We're going to get our reward if we're faithful. That's why he said, don't fret about that. Because look at verse 2. Verse 2, he says, for they shall soon be cut down like the grass. Who's he talking about? The evildoers, the workers of iniquity. The ones you're fretting about, the ones you're envying for. They're going to be cut down like the grass. Think of this. Spurgeon said this, the sickle of death is sharpening. Oh, they may have a big mouth right now. They may have big money. They may have big things. They may have all these wonderful items. But what he's saying is they're going to be cut down just like it is in this summer when they start cutting the grass. They're not going to be here that long. You know, we have a very short period of time on this earth. I was watching somebody doing a video the other day. It was a message, and the guy had a wonderful illustration. He had a piece of rope. It must have been about 40 feet long, it looked like. And he goes, let's just, for instance, say that this end of the rope is when you're born. Okay? The rest of it is all of eternity. And he had about this much of it in red. He said, that's your life. If you look at it in terms of eternity. And when you held that out and you took it all the way across, you kind of made you think, whoa, that's mighty short for eternity. And he said, but what you do here matters, not just for you, but for anybody else that comes in contact with you. You have a little bit of time. What are you doing with it? I'll be 49 this year. I've already gone the halfway mark of what I'm supposed to be by what the scientists tell us for a full life. I think 75 or 72 is it. I've already lived over half my life. What have I done for the Lord for that time? Some of you have already hit it. What have you done for the Lord? You may say, oh, well, I've already hit that. What am I supposed to do? Guess what? You keep going. You keep doing. Because they're going to soon be cut down like the grass. Look what it says, and wither as the green herb. When the sun comes out and it hits that herb and it dries up and it withers and it dies, that's just what he's saying. These people that you are looking up to and fretting about and being envious about. So why are you doing that? Fret not thyself. And can I be honest with you? Most of us, if not all of us, has at some point in time envied what somebody else had. I want that. Why didn't I get that? And you know what we do? We look at God and we go, God, why did you give that guy that when you know I needed it and I wanted it? It's very easy to do that. God, I can't afford to do that. Why'd you let that guy do it? Why'd you let that lady have this? Why'd you let that kid have that? Why did you do that? And we can get angry at God. And we're going to look at that in just a moment, that David talks about this. Because if you look secondly, we see that faith destroys fretting in verses 3 through 7. Look what he says. Righteous, fret not thyself. And in verse 3, he says, trust in the Lord. That's what we should be doing as believers. Hey, let me encourage you to do this, is what David's saying. Let me warn you about doing this in verses 1, 2. Don't do this. Because here's what's going to happen, with these people. But now he says, trust in the Lord. When we trust, we will not fret. You know why? Because we're not worried about those things, because we're trusting him to take care of whatever need we may have. We will not worry. We'll not wring our hands. We'll not pull out our hair. We'll not bite our fingernails down to the quick. We'll not do any of those things because we're not worried. We're not fretting. We're not being disturbed. If we'll just trust in him. Folks, we'll not envy what somebody else has. Instead, we'll be content with what the Lord's given us, because we have faith in the Lord that he's given us the best that we need. But then it tells us, trust in the Lord and do good. Do you know that trusting in the Lord and do good go together? If you're trusting in God, you cannot help but do good. You can't help but do good if you're trusting in the Lord. Now, this good is not good that man looks at as good. It's good as what God looks at as good. See, man could say good is something that God would look at and go, no, that's not good in my eyes. That's good in man's eyes. Man has made it today to where it's good if a man and a man want to get married, or a woman and a woman want to get married. It's good in the eyes of the world today if a guy thinks he's still a girl trapped in the guy's body, so he's going to bring that girl out and he's going to become a woman. This is the world. And folks, I told you this years ago, and I'm going to say it again. The next step is pedophilia. And guess what? It's already happening. They're pushing for it. They're saying it's okay. Folks, there's nothing okay with that. Not one thing. You know why they say that? That's because they say, well, that child may love that man or that woman, and that man or that woman may love that child. If that goes through, it'll be bestiality next, and so on and so forth. It's just going to be more and more depraved. And if you don't believe it, look it up. There have been signs posted, and I can't remember where it was, signs posted up of a child, a man and a child, holding hands with the rainbow thing behind it, stating that this was okay, as long as they love each other. That's the same thing they said about homosexuality, as long as they love each other. What does the Bible say about it? It's an abomination. They've taken the unnatural and tried to make it natural, and that's just what's happening today. And folks, we need to understand this. This is why he's saying, do good. The world's good's different than God's good. And he's saying, trust in the Lord and do good. And look what it says, so shalt thou dwell in the land, and verily thou shalt be fed. Let me tell you something. The results of trusting in the Lord and doing good, we're going to dwell in the land and we shall be fed. What land is he talking about? I personally believe it's the land of Canaan, the land of contentment, the land that floweth with milk and honey. He's going to give us what we need. And it says here, not just says that, dwell, and thou shalt be fed. Now, I don't know about you. I know Rick likes to be fed. I have to ask that question. He loves to be fed. Isn't that right, Rick? Do you like that? Yes. We talk about it quite often. I like to be fed too. But we're talking about the good shepherd taking his sheep and giving him the best. When God gives us something, he gives us his best. You may say, well, I haven't had a filet mignon. That's the best, isn't it? That may not be what God wants you to have. He may know what you can and cannot handle. And that's something we need to understand. That's something we need to grasp and see, that the good shepherd always leads us to the best grass and beside the still waters. He gives us the best as long as we're trusting in him and doing good. He's going to take care of his children. Keep reading. Delight thyself also in the Lord. Can I ask you a question? And don't shake your head until you think about it. Do you honestly delight in the things of God? And I'm not talking about just because you're in church tonight. We can get real churchy and go, oh, praise Jesus. Oh, hallelujah. I'm talking about tomorrow morning when you're on the way to work and you get stuck behind some lady doing 20 miles an hour in a 55 and you can't get around her. Are you delighting in the Lord at that time? Because look what it says. Delight thyself also in the Lord, and he shall give thee the desires of thine heart. People have taken this verse so out of context that it's not even funny. Well, if I delight in the Lord, which boy do I delight in the Lord, that he's going to give me anything I want, right? No. Stop taking it out of context. He shall give thee the desires of thy heart. If you're a child of God and your will is his will, then you're going to delight in what he delights in, and you're going to desire what he desires, not what you desire. We can justify him. You know what? God, if you give me a bass boat, I'll take out Christians every Saturday, and I'll take them fishing, won't charge them a dime. You just give me that bass boat. And we justify it. I'm using it for Jesus. God, if you just give me that 120 acres up in the mountains with lots of deer and turkey on it, I'll take a bunch of Christians out there and I'll make sure they get deer and turkeys, and I'll do it for you. Praise Jesus. He's going to give me that. Give me a new car and I'll bring people to church, Lord. We can justify this stuff, folks. Give me a new house and I'll make one of the rooms like a prophet's chamber for any time we have a missionary come through, and I'll give it to him. Just give me that house, God. Because, God, that's what I desire. I just want a new house. If we were honest with God, we look at him and go, I just want a bass boat. Give me a bass boat. I just want 120 acres worth of land in the wooded area so that I can go hunting. Just give it to me. If we were honest, but we want to make it sound good, don't we? I want to be able to go to Cove and go, Cove, you know what? I'm using this for Jesus. No. That's an afterthought. That's to make it sound good. Now, if God gives you 120 acres of land to go hunting on, just remember my name. Yeah, Woody too. But you know what? God doesn't work that way all the time, does he? I've yet to see him work that way with me. But you know what? That's because my delight and my desire is not that desire. Folks, if God gave me 120 acres worth of land, I'd probably turn around and sell it because I don't have time to go hunting. You know, I want to. I don't have time. Folks, we have to think about those things. God gives us the desires of our heart. And as believers, our desires should never go against the Word of God. It should be right in line with it. But a lot of people, God's going to give me whatever I desire. No. You have not because you ask not, and what you do ask, you ask amiss because you want it upon your lusts. Have you ever asked God for something that you know you just wanted it? God, just give me that. I want it. You know what that sounds like? It sounds like that child that you see in the grocery store that right when you're leaving, you know, all the candy is at. I want it. Give me that, Mama. They start screaming. That's what we sound like. We're brat. And if God did that all the time for us, you know what he would raise? He'd raise a whole bunch of bratty children. Folks, there's more times that God has had to say no to me because I've wanted what I wanted than for him to say yes. And there's nothing wrong with that, not one thing. He does what he's supposed to do because the problem is we don't commit our way into the Lord. In verse 5, nobody truly likes that C word, commit. I look at things and I go, how many of y'all can I get to commit to working at Vacation Bible School this year? And I hear crickets. Everybody, well, she's going to do it, right? I don't know. You going to help? I don't know if I'm going to. Let me look at my calendar. I may have something else coming up. We don't want to commit, but look what he's saying here. Commit thy way unto the Lord. This means every way that you go and everything that you do, it is to be committed to the Lord. Nothing is going to derail those plans. Nothing's going to detour me. I'm going to commit my way unto the Lord. Everything that we do, we're to yield and submit to Him and commit our way to Him. In our family, in our business, in our free time, in church, in our finances, in our home, everything we do is to be committed to Him. Not to ourselves, to Him. And that's what he's saying here. It says here, commit thy way unto the Lord, trust also in Him, and He shall bring it to pass. What is He's going to bring to pass? Whatever He desires for you to be doing. You know, sometimes God lets things come into our lives that we don't understand. We don't know if we can handle. I used to hear people say this all the time. God never gives you something that you can't handle. Yes, He does. It's a bunch of baloney. And I used to believe that. God puts things in your life to make you depend on Him and take your hands off of it. How can you stop cancer? Can. You know what you got to do? You got to depend on Him. It's His plan. As a child of God, you've yielded up your body as a living sacrifice to Him so He can do with you as He wants. I've been dealing with stuff for the last 6, 7, 8 months now that my body hurts all the time. I just committed that to Him and said, God, I don't know what's going on, but you do. Handle it. And I've literally taken my hands off of it. I still do. I still take care of things. I don't stop. But you know what? I said, Lord, I can't do this. I've got to commit that to you. I've got to trust in you. And if you choose not to remove it, kind of that thorn in the flesh that Paul spoke about, guess what? I just keep dealing with it. Because it says here, trust in Him and He shall bring it to pass. He'll take care of it. Why should I fret? I got to trust in Him. Why should I worry? I got to trust in Him. Because if you keep reading, it says in verse 6, and He shall bring forth thy righteousness as the light and thy judgment as the noonday. When the enemy starts to attack, and guess what? David was attacked a lot. Not just physically, but a lot of slander, a lot of words that were said about him, a lot of lies that were brought up so it would kind of get the people to not believe him. And he's saying, you know what? You just trust in the Lord. He'll bring it to pass. He'll let my righteousness. Now, he doesn't mean in terms of righteousness, in terms of our righteousness. Our righteousness is filthy rags. What he's saying is He'll bring forth what we've done so that everyone can see. So all those people that have slandered and said those evil things against me won't have any way of believing it. Hey, you just trust in God. You ever had someone say something mean about you? And you wonder, man, how am I going to ever defend myself against that? Don't. Trust in the Lord. Let Him take care of it. If you're living for Him, people can say some of the meanest and most hateful things about you, but most people won't believe it because they go, I've had people say things about people in this church, and I go, really? I've never seen that. Are you sure you're talking about the right person? I've never heard a mean word come out of that person's mouth, and you're saying they're saying those things? So their righteousness came out. The light was shown upon it, and it didn't show you the truth of what they were saying. When Satan attacks and he tries to destroy, guess what? Just trust in the Lord. He'll bring it to pass. You don't have to defend yourself. Let Him defend you. Because keep looking. Verse 7, rest in the Lord and wait patiently for Him. How many of you have patience? Some of you are going, How many of y'all like to sit on I-95 in traffic for 3 or 4 hours? I didn't think so. Not a lot of patience there, is it? We really don't have as much patience as we think. Sitting in church, we got patience. I'll be out in 10, 15 minutes. No big deal. Patience, hear what he's saying. We have to wait patiently for Him because it's His timetable and not ours. God knows what we need, when we need it, and how we need it. And you know what we need to do? We need to rest in Him. Think about it like this. Y'all are all sitting in a pew, okay? If I need to rest, I'm going to come right here. I'm going to rest. It's just resting. Now, if I'm at home, I'll lay on the couch. I'm going to rest. But here's what happens. Satan begins to attack, and we can't do this. Resting doesn't come. And say, you know what it is? Okay, I got to go over here and let's see if I can do this. I got to get, well, let me see. And we just can't sleep. We just can't do because I got to get this. I got to do that. I got to do that. And our mind's going to the point we can't rest. Some of y'all know what I'm talking about. Pastor, I've got so much on my plate. That's okay. It says here, rest in the Lord and wait patiently for Him. Men, I'm going to ask you a question and be honest with me. How many of you men have ever went shopping with your wife? Some of you don't want to raise your hands. You go, is my wife going to smack me? You know what? Sometimes you have to wait. Woody's over there going, no, don't hit me. Sometimes we have to wait patiently, don't we? As they try on that dress for the 4th time. As they come to us and go, what do you think? Ladies, can I go on ahead and tell you, if it makes you happy, it makes us happy. If you look at it and go, it doesn't make me look good, then they don't want you. I don't want you wearing it. But if it makes you happy, put it on. This makes me look so thin. Yes, it does, honey. Does it make me look fat? Just walk away. Some of you may want to run, because if you look at her and go, yeah, you're pretty much done. But we have to learn patience. And we have to learn patience with the Lord also. I mean, ladies, I'll ask you this. How many of you have had to go into some place like Bass Pro Shop or something like that with your husband? Because trust me, you're going to wait patiently because we're going to look for a long period of time. And whatever their favorite place may be, Lowe's, Home Depot. Don't laugh, Miss Candace. There you go. She's over complaining already. Here's a perfect example. She can't wait patiently. But no, I'm just kidding. But you got to think, we have to wait patiently. What about with God? God, we need this now. God, I want this now. You know what He's saying? If you're trusting in Him, if you're committed to Him, then you're going to rest in Him and you're going to wait patiently for Him. Because He's going to take care of your need. The problem with us, most of us are very impatient people. I've said this before too. We're in an instant society. I can get on my phone and send a text to anybody in the world and they'll get it right then. Folks, we have instant mashed potatoes. That's sacrilegious. There's something about that. I mean, we have instant everything. Instant oatmeal. I don't like oatmeal, but you've got all these. I mean, hey, I can get something whipped up in 30 seconds and it's on the table and you're thinking, wow, isn't that great? Till you put it in your mouth and you're like, well, maybe we need to go back to the old-fashioned way. Here's the thing. We want it now. And He says, rest in the Lord. Look what it says in verse 7. Fret not thyself because of him who prospereth in his way, because of the man who bringeth wicked devices to pass. Why are you fretting? Because of the wickedness of this world. Rest in the Lord and wait patiently on Him. Folks, that's something we all need to learn. Rest in Him and wait patiently. Because thirdly, and very quickly, in verses 8 through 11, we see, do no evil. It says in verse 8, cease from anger and forsake wrath. Can I tell you, it's so easy today to get angry at things. We get angry at people. We can get angry at different situations. But here's what I believe He's trying to tell us. Don't cease from anger, especially of the things of God. I'm not going to ask you this because some of you be embarrassed, including myself, to raise our hand if we've ever been angry with God. Maybe because He's letting us go through something, or He hasn't done what we've asked, or maybe we're going through some physical thing. God, why don't you just take care of this and get it over with? Go back to verse 7. Wait patiently on Him. Rest in Him. Cease from anger. You know where anger leads to sin, and it is sin. And He's saying here, cease from anger and forsake wrath. Do not get angry when God leads or guides you in a way that may be inconvenient. Sometimes God leads me in ways that I feel like are inconvenient for me. But I'm His. He's not going to come to me and ask me if I want to do it. He's going to go do it. I can honestly tell you, I never remember my father ever come to me and ask me if I ever wanted to go to church. You know what my father's thing was? Get up. Mom's laid your clothes out. If you're not ready, you go in your pajamas. Get moving. I got up. I got ready because he meant it. And I didn't want to go to church in my pajamas. We're not going to be late. We live 3 minutes from the church. Half an hour before church started, he wanted to be there. I'm still laying in bed. Come on, Dad. We got plenty of time. When the car pulls out, you're going to be in it. But here, forsake wrath. Cease from anger. If God does something in your life, don't say, well, this is an inconvenience. Well, this is God's plan for you. Let it unfold. Because he says, again, another fret not thyself in any wise to do evil. Worry is evil, is sin. Don't contemplate. Don't even think about doing evil. And don't fret yourself in any wise to do evil. Don't think, oh, I've got to do this because if I don't, God's just not going to provide. No, don't do evil. It says in verse 9, for why should we not do evil? For evildoers shall be cut off. I better not do evil because they're going to be cut off. But then it said, but those that wait upon the Lord, they shall inherit the earth. Again, it goes back to patience. Wait on God to provide. Wait on God to answer. Wait on God to protect. Wait on God to answer, to guide you. Wait on God to lead you. Wait. Problem is, we don't like to wait. Again, that goes back to having patience. It says here, but those that wait upon the Lord, they shall inherit the earth. He's saying God's going to take care of those things. I thought it was interesting. Have you ever heard of John Bunyan? Pilgrim's Progress? Okay. In Pilgrim's Progress, he did a wonderful job. He wrote that while he was in prison, by the way, Pilgrim's Progress. And he wrote this. He said this about some of the things. He said, passion, according to John Bunyan's parable, has his good things first, and they are soon over. If you think about that, passion, we just want it right then, and then it's gone. But he says, patience has its good things last, and they last forever. If we'll just be patient. And that's what he's saying here. Because he says, if you look down at verse 10, for yet a little while, and the wicked shall not be. Now think about that. Yet a little while, and they're going to be gone. Those wicked, those evil men, and they won't be here very much longer. Yea, thou shalt diligently consider his place, and it shall not be. You know what he's saying here? Because you're going to think back on some of these people and think about what they were doing. They're going to be gone, and you fretted about them for no reason. You ever had bad neighbors that blew their leaves in your yard, that let their dog come and use your yard for a potty, that parked on your yard, that seemed to have parties at 3 a.m. every Friday and Saturday night, that you go on, there's bad neighbors. And what do? We fretted ourselves. Sooner or later, those neighbors are going to be gone. Or you're going to move and be gone. And all we got so upset. I remember we lived in a duplex when I was in Bible college. And the lady that lived next to us in the duplex, literally, our bathroom butted up against her bathroom. She had a little girl. She was I think her name was Dakota. She was about 3 or 4 years old, and every morning she had to take her daycare. She had a job. She had to work. And at 6 o'clock, from 6 in the morning to 6:30, it sounded like a vulture was being slaughtered in the bathroom. This high-pitched screaming, crying, because she had to wake her up to get ready for school. And I remember I'd be sitting there shaving, and I'd be like, you couldn't help it. If you were asleep on a Saturday and had to go somewhere that morning, the vulture went off. And we didn't call her Dakota for a while. We called her the vulture because it was so loud. It just hurt your head. Nobody wanted to hear that at 6 o'clock, and we complained. Good for nothing. Neighbors getting their kids up at 6 o'clock screaming like a vulture, blah, 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 blah. We get upset. It didn't do me a bit of good. Me sitting in my bedroom complaining about this kid screaming at 6 o'clock in the morning did me no good. You know what? After about 6 months, they were gone. They left. Hey, praise the Lord. 6 o'clock in the morning, I get up. I hear nothing. It's wonderful. See, this is what we need to understand. We may have to go through something for a little while, but if we'll trust in Him, He'll bring it to pass. We won't have to deal with this. Just a little while the wicked shall be. A little while. That rope we're talking about, we're only on earth for a little while. Then one day we're going to be in heaven to rest for all of eternity. And to deal with the wickedness of this world. For yet for a little while the wicked shall not be. Yea, thou shalt diligently consider his place, and it won't be there. But instead he says, but the meek shall inherit the earth, and shall delight themselves in the abundance of peace. The meek, we heard this from Jesus Christ on the Sermon on the Mount. He said the same thing. The meek are those who have been saved, who have been left to go through the struggles here with the wicked. But folks, guess what? There is a happy ending. You and I that know Christ as our Savior, guess what? We're going to be resting with Him for all of eternity. The message tonight is very clear. I hope it was. I don't know what you're fretting about. Whether it be something physical, whether it be something mental, whether it be something financial, whether it be something in the family, whether it be something in this world. All of us have things that we can fret about, that we're worrying about, that's eating away at us, that's disturbing us. Here David's saying, why are you fretting? Especially, it's normally over things that we can do nothing about. Instead, you know what we need to do? We need to rest in Him. Why are you fretting? Why are you worrying? Why are you losing sleep at night? Why haven't you given it to Him? See, we like to walk around with the big burden sometimes. And we're hunched over, like in Pilgrim's Progress. And we've got this big burden on us. And we're going through life. You know what we need to do? Lord, I can't handle this burden. Take this burden. And He takes it off of us. And we lose that weight that so easily besets us at times of worry and fretting. What are you fretting about tonight? What are you worrying about? What's eating you up? I pray you'll come to this altar and do business with God and say, God, I'm not dealing with this anymore. I'm giving it to you. Let's bow our heads, please, tonight. With heads bowed and eyes closed, no one looking around. Tonight, I don't know what you're going through. I don't know what kind of issues there are in your life, what you're fretting about, what you're worrying about, what's on your mind and your heart that maybe you're losing sleep about or is constantly on your mind. I pray tonight you'll do as David said and not fret about it, but instead come to this altar and do business with God and say, God, please give me peace. Let me not worry anymore. I'm giving it to Thee. Heavenly Father, I pray tonight that Thou wouldst have Thy perfect will and way in the invitation. Lord, I come to Thee tonight and I lay this all at Thy feet. In Jesus' holy and precious name I do pray. Amen. With heads bowed and eyes closed, let's stand together. As Miss Moore plays a song of invitation, I pray you'll come to this altar tonight. It doesn't matter what it is you're fretting over. I pray you'll come and take care of it this evening as Miss Moore begins to play.